Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. We are back at the chicken brooder build. Alright, last session made a mega amount of progress, right? We're at this level on one session, so all went well. So we're back at it again. It's taken a few days. You know, we've had some poor weather, had some other stuff going on around. Wife's been working, but finally I got some time to get back out here at the garage, get back at the chicken brooder build. So hopefully you're enjoying it. The last video was quite long as assumed, and that hour-and-a-half video was actually over 4 hours of content reduced down just to make it as concise and short as I could, while also capturing everything that went on. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you're going to continue on with this build series as I do it. And hopefully we end up with a really nice chicken brooder by the time all is said and done. So anyways, today I'm going to get back at it. I got to get basically just whatever I can do done. No point really listing things off, but you know, I need some eaves, I need some bird blocking, need some roof sheathing, need some insulation, need some inside walls, need some vapor barrier, need all the good stuff. And we need some vents as well. So like I said, I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself. I don't want to base current performance based on past performance. I don't want to set that bar as high as it probably got set with that last video. That was probably a one-off as far as my motivation goes, but I won't rule it out. So anyways, we're going to get started. Welcome back, like I said. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it and continue to enjoy it. So let's see what we can get done. Alright, so to get things moving here today, I figure I'm going to start off with some low-hanging fruit, as they call it. Basically the easy pickings, okay? So as you see here, I got a little bit of space between the top of the truss and the actual sill of the wall. And I don't want any predators climbing up somehow and getting in that open space. So I'm going to begin by taking some of my 2x4, which was ripped in half, and I've kind of sized it up a little bit already and noticed that the height of it is almost perfect, or it pretty well is perfect for filling in this extra little gap to meet the top of the trusses. So I'm going to cut that to length and get that screwed and glued into place. I'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll move on to something else from there. So let's get that done real quick. To fill this front gap, I'm looking at a measurement of, let me see here now. So we're doing 44 3/4 should fill in this gap. So I'll get that cut first, and then I'll move to the other side and go from there. Alright, so let's get this measured out and cut. I'm just choosing the best side. The whole thing is pretty much the same. So we'll just go ahead and get our 44 3/4 done. Kind of working in a limited space here now with everything taking up the bench, but we'll get it done. Alright, so let's do a little test fitment. I only need 1/8 or so of wiggle room, which is fine. And I don't know if you can tell from where you guys are, but this lines up perfectly with the roof trusses. So when I do eventually have a flip down lid here, this should seal nicely. So I'm just going to go flush with my wall edge, and if there is any kind of high points or anything like that, I can take a hand plane and just remove those after the fact. So I'll go ahead now, and hopefully this won't split too bad. I may actually pre-drill because there's a couple of weak spots in this wood that would probably really want to split. So I think I'll just take that extra little moment to pre-drill, and then I'll glue and screw this down in place. So now that I got the other side done, I'll get some measurements over here on this side. So we got 22. Yep, 22 on the nose and 21 1/4. Alright, not exactly centered if I do say so myself, but you know what? It is what it is. 21 1/4 and 22. There's nothing there that I'm going to change. So let's get that done. Now, in all fairness, there is a little bit of a twist in this middle truss. It was an older, less pristine piece that I wanted to use there at that middle point. So yeah, 21 1/4 and 22. I'll get those cut. We'll come back here and get those on. Alrighty, so let's get a test fitting, get these where they need to be. That'll go. And there we go. Okay, so I'll get these pre-drilled as well, just to keep everything intact. Alright, time to get this glued and screwed. With the bird blocking now done up in the eaves, that's our first low-hanging fruit picked for sure. Next is the eave areas here. Right, as of right now, when I put on the plywood sheathing, I got, you know, a quarter. What size is this plywood anyways? It's probably 1/2 inch, less than. So yeah, it's 3/8 plywood I'm using here. So there is, you know, 3/8 difference now from where the plywood ends and where the rest of the truss travels. So I need another piece of plywood, laminate that onto the eave truss, and that'll give me a uniform front wall. So I'm just going to cut out, like I say, this is a 2x4, so it's 3.5 inches in width. So I'm just going to cut out a couple of strips that are 3.5, then I'll trace the angle, cut that out, and be done. So I got to do that 4 times, and we'll have the eaves done. So I'll just bang that out right quick now, and we'll move on from there. Alright, so let's check fitment, and that is lovely. So I'll get that glued and screwed now, and then I'll move on and do the other 3. The other 3 I'm going to do off camera, by the way, just because it's the exact same process over and over, so I can manage to spare you guys of that much. But I'll get this attached, and then I'll skip ahead and be right back with you after that with the other 3 done. plywood is on. Alright, so at this point now, I'm going to need to make at least 4 more trusses because I need an overhanging eave. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to install some blocks on each side, which will bring the eave out equivalent to the ridge beam. And then I'm going to do the same shaped truss, just minus the bird's mouth. No bird's mouth on this one. It's just going to be regular 2x4, and then some 2x4 blocking coming off of the brooder to support that eave. Doesn't need to be a big amount of support, but you know, still going to be about 3 blocks or so to really get things where they need to be. And down at this end, I'm not sure if I'll come out here or if I'll come out even with the eave. It's kind of, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? But as long as I have enough support, I should be good. So I gotta, like I said, my ridge beam's going to be a block. I'll probably put one in the middle and one down either at the very end or at the wall area. So I'll get those done, and I just need a measurement of those. It's going to be whatever portion of the ridge beam is showing, which is about 5 3/4, and then I'll take off 1.5 inches for the thickness of the 2x4 that's going to be going over it, because I want the trusses to meet up with the ridge beam on the sides, not in front of it, and so I'll need to take off the 1.5 inches that's going to be inset inside of the ridge beam space. So 5 3/4, you know, maybe you know, 5 6/8 or so, which is the same, but 5 3/4 minus 1.5 inches is 4 1/4. So I'll make 2 more blocks, and I'll do a few of those actually for the other sides as well. I'll get those attached, and then I'll cut out the joists and we'll screw those on, and the eaves will be framed. So as you see here, this is my old truss template, and so I'm going to be having that on hand for making trusses. But for now, I'm just going to start doing these small little blocks, and these are going to be about 4 1/8. This could all vary on your project. Alright, so I'm just go ahead and I'm going to cut 4 of these to begin for this side here, which I am on. I'm going to get installing these blocks now. I'm not going to overthink it too much. Basically, I'm just going to find the midpoint of my truss to begin, which is 3 feet long, 36 inches. So I'm going to choose 18 as my midpoint. Okay, so 18 will be my midpoint, and I'm going to put one down at the far end as well. So that should make it fairly simple. Famous last words, right? Alright, so I'll basically get a bit of glue and screw onto these. And we'll call it done like dinner. Just like so. Center it up, pretty much just leveling it up with the plywood so it's on the same angle, and I'm just going to screw that from behind. I'm going to just attach that from behind. There we go, that's plenty. So I'll get the next one put on at the end here. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut some more blocks for the other side. Same measurement, 4 1/8, and carry on will attach on the other side, and then I'll do my trusses. But I'm also thinking I may change my mind partway through, because obviously I'm going to get 2 blocks out of this when I need 4. So unless I find another scrap piece of 2x4, I'm actually going to want to use my old truss template for scraps. I don't want that to go to waste. So I may end up doing my trusses, do all 4 trusses, and then use that scrap piece for the other 2 blocks. That's what I'm doing, you know what I mean? Also, this is the 2x4 which I was cutting trusses off last session, and I marked out a truss on it because they are kind of big. I didn't want to waste wood, so I'm just going to cut off this extra little bit here, and I'll have one of my 4 trusses ready to go. So I figure since I'm doing a truss, why not do 3 more? So again, I'm using my template just to try and keep all the sizes exact. Because if you use your last piece cut as your new template, eventually you're going to either add or subtract a bit too much, and given enough cuts and enough template making, you can really throw off your dimensions. And these are pretty simple trusses now. It's just 1 cut and they're done. We got all the blocking on there now. It is time for some eave trusses, I guess. I haven't test fit these yet. I'm only assuming that they're going to fit, but they should. And they do. So that's lovely. We'll get these glued and screwed. Good and messy. And there we are. Let's get it done. Sure, I should be using a clamp right now. Just as well to get one. Now that I have the eaves framed out, the next thing on my list is going to be ventilation. And anyone who has chickens for any long period of time know that ventilation is one of the key factors to keeping your chickens healthy and also letting them regulate their temperatures better when they get older and feathered out. So by having good ventilation, especially in the winter time, now this might not be used much in the winter time, but there is always a chance that this turns into a regular coop or anything like that. So proper ventilation is going to be key to temperature regulations within the chicks. And so what I've decided, I'm going to do a 1 foot long by 4 feet high window or vent on both sides. So I'm just going to frame that out, and then I'm going to screw the frame on inside and then use my jigsaw to cut around it, or I'll trace it and then cut around. So that's the idea. I'm going to use some of my split 2x4s to frame that out, and if I need some extra I may have to take out the table saw and split some more 2x4 because I am very low on it right now. And when I mean very low, I mean almost next to none. So I'll get to work on framing that out now, and we'll split as needed, and we should be pretty close to insulating at that point in time, once that's all installed and all that good stuff. So let's go. Alright, so for the time being I'm using my barbecue box here as an assembly station. And there will be a future video on putting this barbecue together, by the way. Just not just yet, that's all. So when it comes to framing this out, I'm thinking that I'll just do 2 4-inch sides, and then I'll have a header and a footer for each window, we'll say. So I just need 4 4-inch blocks out of this. And this is 18 inches long, so I should be able to get all 4 blocks out of this piece, which is very nice. So let's get to work cutting those. Alright, I'll move you guys over to the side and I'll chop those up real quick. Alright, so at this point now, see, this is going to be oriented like this, and I'm going to want 1 foot of length in the middle there. So now when all that is lined up properly, we should end up with a 1 foot long vent in between, 4 inches of height, and we should be good. And now I'll just duplicate that. So I need 2 more like this. Let's see if I can find the wood without having to split another piece of 2x4. I'll definitely get 1 out of this. And I think I managed to find a piece that I can get a bit of scrap out of. Enough anyways to complete the last piece well enough, and I did. So let's do that. Let's see what the assembled pieces will look like. There'll be 1 vent there. So, like I say, I never did this on the miter saw, so some of the angles are a little bit rough. But as far as the little vents go, not a big deal. So I'll just get these screwed together, and then we'll get that mounted in place. Okay, so now that I got the vent outlined, it's going to be going, you know, around midpoint here, but I will find a more exact midpoint just to make sure it's as nice as could be. And then the midpoint on the vent itself is going to be the middle of 15.5, which is 7 3/4. So now when I put these together, line up the midpoints, this is where it should go. So I'll just tack this on temporarily. Or actually, I can trace it now. I think I can hold it there. Okay, so there's my vent. I'm going to get my jigsaw now, and I'll cut that window out. And we'll be ready to tack the vent on then. And we'll repeat that on the other side after that. Let's get in here, see if we can do a proper cut. A little bit sketchy. Not too bad. Let's see what we can do. Alright, so I'm just going to check fitment on that. Center line to center line. Like so. Now that looks beautiful. So let's get some glue on this. Should have enough screws in my pocket for this, I believe. Again, center line to center line. Let's get this up here. Like so. I'll get this attached from the other side. Alright, so now I'm going to do a little rinse and repeat of what we just did. Again, finding the midpoint. So now I'll take my vent, $15.5, so 7 3/4. Actually, I'm going to line it up right there, so it's off a smidge. There we go, another vent to cut out. There we go. Now let's see if I can get out of here safely. And we'll get the next one put on. Here it is. Again, that is excellent. So we'll glue this. Get this put in place. Just right there. We are good. So we'll get that secured now. Alright, so this thing is coming along pretty nicely, if I do say so myself, and I do. So next on the agenda, we get the vents in place. Next thing is insulation. So to hopefully make insulating this a bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and have my measurements pre-done for the open cavities. So we got 20.5 inches high and 43.5 long. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of insulation to that size, and then I'll trim out around the vent once I got that ready. So I'll cut that now, we'll come back and get that fit in. There you go. Insulation is in. Like I say, I played a little bit of Tetris there at the end because I ran out of big pieces, which is good. I want to use up scrap, right? I don't want material going to waste, and definitely succeeded there. So next step is to vapor barrier, and you know, when it comes to vapor barrier, it's pretty much just jump into it and get it done. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Like I say, this coop is only up on 2 of these little benches here. I don't feel overly safe adding my weight to the project when I'm in there. I probably should have this down on the ground by now, but I'm going to continue to risk it, I guess. Definitely not OSHA approved, but I'm going to jump inside, have the plastic in there, have my Acousti-Seal in there, and just start sealing around each side. I'm not going to try and do it as one big piece. I'll do what I can, but for the most part I'm going to be cutting each wall individually and see if that gives me a better way of doing things. So that's it. No further ado than jump in there and wish me the best. Here we go. And there you have it, boys and girls. another productive day at the chicken brooder. This is going to go to at least another session. I'd predict probably a couple more at least, but you know, because we're getting into the finer details now. But as far as details go, we took care of a lot of them today. So I hope you're enjoying the build of this chicken brooder. I think it's going to be a pretty awesome little addition to our infrastructure here. It can serve as a standalone coop as well without nesting boxes. You'd probably have to add those if you want to use something like this for your own. And I would probably, if it was going to be for a coop, I'd probably add a side door in case you had a chicken run. But with that said as well, a 1 foot by 1 foot door in the front there would be just fine to put out into a run, and then you use your flip open lid for maintaining and cleaning it out. So like I say, don't assume this is only as a brooder. It's going to be a great brooder, but you could easily adapt this to a chicken coop and use it for that purpose as well on its own. Just add a couple of nesting boxes or milk crate or something inside and a couple of roosts, and I think you'd be doing just fine. But anyways, we're going to be using this. We got some new layer chicks on the way, and eventually we will be getting into meat birds and growing our chickens for meat. And this is part of the infrastructure, like I said, to keep things going, expand our capacity, and just be ready for when the time comes if we need to really ramp things up, you know. So there we are, another one done in the books. Hopefully, again, that you're enjoying this. If you are, please show your support, and I'm sure you know all the ways to do that these days. And share this video for anyone that you think might help, and that's about it. So until next video, I hope you're happy, hope you're healthy, take care of each other, and peace out.